Welcome back to Al's Geek Lab. On today's video, we're going to take a look at this beauty, the Toshiba Libretto 100CT. A cute little sub-notebook that had a pretty great build quality and was a high point of the sub-notebook genre. So firstly, let's delve into what a sub-notebook is and where the Libretto fits in.
This video is sponsored by the very wonderful people at PCBWay. PCBWay are the leading electronics and prototyping manufacturer. If you've got an idea, you can use PCBWay to turn it into a reality. PCBWay can build PCBs from just $5 and build them for you in around 24 hours. Now, what I really love is that for people that suck at using a soldering iron, like myself, you can upload your PCB file and have PCBWay assemble it all for you. PCBWay also do 3D printing, CNC machining, sheet metal fabrication, injection molding, and so much more. So if you've got an idea for an electronics project, why don't you give PCBWay a try at PCBWay.com? After all, that is the PCBWay. We thank PCBWay for sponsoring Al's Geek Lab. Now, let's get back to the video.
The early to mid-90s brought a wave of new miniaturized technologies that had not been seen before. Surface mount technology, smaller semiconductor dies, and other advancements in microcomputer technology seemed to bring about a game of my tech is smaller than your tech, especially coming out of Japan. Arguably, the idea of a computer that was the size of an A5 notebook started as early as 1982 with the Epson HX20, and the first IBM PC-compatible notebook-sized laptop started in 1988 with the NEC Ultralight, weighing in at 2.2 kilograms. Some would say that the technology still had a ways to go though. By 1992, however, the term sub-notebook was coined by PC Magazine, a computer that was smaller than a full-size laptop, but something larger than a handheld. The handhelds of the era were crummy PDAs, which functionally wouldn't hold a light in terms of power or prowess to a proper computer until around the advent of the iPhone in 2007. Sub-notebooks ideally had a similar computing power to their laptop contemporaries, have a screen size between 5 and 12 inches, and weigh between just under a kilo to around a kilo and a half. Due to their miniaturization though, some shortcuts were inevitable. Their screen resolutions were smaller, they often lacked ports, battery life or CPU grunt. Generally speaking, they were a little bit shit. But as far as bragging rights went, they told the other Joneses down the road at Spiff and Spiff Marketing Company that you were the boss, because size mattered. The smaller the better, right? Toshiba were well positioned to say it's what you do with it that counts with their high-end bunch of sub-notebooks, the Libretto, which is Italian for booklet. Although these early small form factors saw good success in the 90s and the noughties, the market saw some fracturing from the mid-noughties onwards. Intel had come out with lower power processors such as the Atom and the Pentium M, the ARM processors had started to take some market share, and other types of small laptops sprouted up, such as the very low-cost EPC netbooks, Chromebooks by Google, as well as Palmtops and Smartbooks. The market changed significantly in the latter part of the noughties following the release of the Apple iPhone and Android, especially with the advent of tablets. The sub-notebook genre all but disappeared, especially in Western markets. Sub-notebooks were generally marketed for business people on the go. Often users would sync them up to their desktops when they got into the office, using machines primarily for spreadsheets, word processing, and other smaller tasks. The Libretto seemed to be no exception to this use case, shipping with Microsoft's IntelliSync 97 for this very purpose. The Libretto line ran from 1996, starting with the 486DX4 machines such as the L20, through to 2010 with the W100. It was generally considered a commercial success. The Libretto 100CT came out around late 1997 or early 1998. It was no chubber, weighing in at only 950 grams or 967 grams with its dock. Evidently, the machine had been on the slim fast plan from its design phase, especially given that its size, similar to that of a VHS video cassette, was pretty stellar stuff for the time. But with its slender look, you'd think that it was low power, but I'd say that it put out more grunt than your average grandpa getting out of its lazy boy. The Libretto 100 CT I have here is a full-fat Pentium 166 by Intel, no Pentium M stuff going on here. It's shipped with 32 megabytes of RAM, which in 1997 was still reasonable for a sub-notebook, especially if you were running Windows 95. The RAM was wired to the motherboard, but I have read on the internet that it is possible to upgrade to 64 megs or even 96 megs, but the process looks pretty convoluted. The original specs for the Libretto 100 CT had a 2GB hard drive, but this one comes with a Hitachi 6GB model. Whether this was a swap out at some point, I can't be sure, but this one appears to be making all the right sounds and is running just fine on Windows 95 for a hard drive of its age. The drive in here is a 4200 RPM drive, so even back in the 90s, it was never going to win awards for its speed. Upon taking my machine apart, it seems to hail from the 12th week of 1997. It has a Neomagic Magigraph 128XD graphics system on a chip. Presumably the 128XD had 2 megabytes of embedded DRAM. The built-in display is a 7.1-inch TFT, which supports a weird maximum resolution of 800 by 480 pixels. Using the external port replicator, you can attach a monitor and run it up to 1024 by 768, but if you try and run both monitors at the same time, you get a virtual display or a scrolling resolution where the inbuilt display resolution takes precedence. It's pretty odd. Ports-wise, without the dock, the notebook has 2 PC card or PCM CIA slots. It also has an infrared port, for God only knows what, and that's really all you get on the main machine. So if you were travelling really light, you really couldn't get connected to very much unless it was connecting through the PC card. Fortunately, you could get floppy drives and even CD-ROM drives back in the day that worked through the PC card bus. Modems and network cards were very common too. It gave you 2 mini 2.5mm audio jacks, one for a microphone, one for the speaker output. Given that they were 2.5mm, there wasn't much that you could plug into it, which would have been a pain in the keister. Talking about sound, apparently it was 100% Sound Blaster Pro compatible, whatever that meant, although it did have a trusty Yamaha OPL3 SA3 chip tucked away inside it, so I would say that it sounded pretty good, right? Anyway, the expansion port also had a 9-pin serial port, a 25-pin parallel port, an SVGA-D sub-connector, and a PS2 keyboard or mouse port, as well as a partridge sitting in a pear tree. Later models may also have had a USB connector, but this one sadly missed the plug-and-pray glory of the mid to late 90s. My machine is completely missing its battery, which would have lasted anywhere between 2.5 and 3.5 hours back in the day. Talking about batteries, the Libretto had a small battery pack for the CMOS setup data inside it. The previous owner has thoughtfully removed the CMOS battery from this machine, as they have a habit of leaking all over the motherboard, which destroys them pretty quickly. Using the keyboard is only about half as painful as I thought it would be. The keys sound awful, but actually pressing them feels fine to the touch. The big problem is that the keys are located in odd places, and due to their size, you can easily strike the wrong key. The main thing I really didn't like was the nipple. No matter how gently I tweaked that thing, it really didn't want to go my way. The mouse flew anywhere on the screen but where I wanted it, and the accuracy was anything but like the old ThinkPad nubbins, which we know and love. The mouse buttons are on the rear of the screen, which made sense, but their placement was a bit off. I don't have seriously big hands, so heaven help the farmers that would have used these puppies in their John Deeres. Software wise, it came with Windows 95, but I've seen people use it with Windows 98 and even upgraded to 2000 on theirs without issue. 95 is probably the performance sweet spot, so if you don't need the bells and whistles of later versions of Windows, stick with what you get. It comes with the software Yamaha Audio Rack and a bunch of Toshiba utilities that make an attempt at making your life with a Libretto a little easier. But we all know that that's hogwash, because you're never going to want to spend more than 30 minutes in the company of this Betamax wannabe. Although it will play Doom quite happily with that Pentium 166 MMX, playing it without getting cramp in your little fingers after about 5 minutes is not going to be likely. I won't crucify it too much though, it is an uber cute little machine. It wasn't too lackluster in the specs department for its time, it supported ACPI power management and suspend to disk, and it was an absolute bargain at just $4,700 in 1997. Wait, what? That's over $9,000 in 2025 money. Right, well anyway, I still like it. Is it practical for us to use today? No. Is it fun as a talking piece that doesn't actually take up much space in your house? Yes. Do I need to get a life? Absolutely. Anyway, you've been watching another Al's Geek Lab. I do hope you've enjoyed this little jaunt around retro technology. If you have enjoyed it, then there's a few things you can do. Firstly, press that little subscribe button and set notifications to all. There's lots of great retro stuff like this for you to watch. Why not hit that like button whilst you're at it? Heck, even leave a comment. Did you have a Libretto back in the day? Before I go, I'd also like to let you know about a great place which has all the best in Al's Geek Lab stuff. All the videos on the channel, but they're ad-free, extra bonus content, and all the videos are released first over there. Plus, your names go up in lights during the credit roll of every video, like this, see? The place I'm talking about is the Al's Geek Lab Patreon site. Why not go over there and join in the fun? Visit patreon.com/Al's Geek Lab today. Thanks very much for watching this video. I'll be back very soon on Al's Geek Lab. Until the next time, stay safe and be excellent to each other. Thanks for watching.